Here in the book of Philippians chapter 1 and verse 12, we have a great verse. It says, "But I would you should understand, brethren, that the things which happen unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel." What a great verse this is. Here we find this prison epistle, the book of Philippians. Paul, he writes from a very small, cold, damp, rodent-filled prison epistle, and he writes this letter of gratitude. He says, "Thank you to the saints there at Philippi, for they were the only ones," we understand in reading chapter 4, they were the only ones who ministered to his physical need. And there were believers who were very much angry about the unjust imprisonment of Paul. Yet Paul himself, he said, "Listen, this is for the furtherance of the gospel." We have to appreciate his biblical perspective as he would understand that yes, he is in an unpleasant place, but he's right where God can use him the best. He's right where God can use him the most. And I know and I understand, and I want you to know and understand that there are times when God will disrupt our comfort zone and place us in an uncomfortable place so that we may be around people that perhaps we would not have met were it not for the crises, so that we may minister to them, share with them the gospel. And that's what the text says. He says, "I want you to know and understand that yes, I'm here. I don't want to be here. It's not comfortable for me to be here. I don't necessarily like it. I haven't done anything wrong." But he bows to the will of God. He bows to the will of God. And he says that God has placed me here that I might serve him in a great way, in a tremendous way, in a magnificent way. The text says, "for the furtherance of the gospel." And may that be our life agenda, that we are doing things that are for the furtherance of the gospel, that we are doing things that will matter in eternity. They will matter in heaven, beloved. And we also see here that as we look further in the chapter, if we took the time in verse 13 and verse 14 and 15 and 16, we see at least 4 benefits of his imprisonment. He talked about how others became saved that were in Caesar's household. He talked about how the guard became saved and those who were watching him. He talks about how other believers who were indignant, who were angered, who were frustrated because of Paul's imprisonment, how they increased in their boldness. He talks about how there were those who did not like Paul, and they discovered that Paul was in prison because of preaching, and they themselves decided to become a preacher. Therefore, we had more soul winners. Understand that it is the gospel that saves, not people. It's the gospel that saves, that it's possible for an unsaved person to lead another unsaved person to Christ as they share the gospel. And so we see several benefits for the furtherance of the gospel that came about as a result of Paul's unjust imprisonment. I want you to know that there are times when God permits difficulty to enter our life. It is our passion and goal to just serve him and be about his business. And although we may not like it, may not understand it, know that God is able to use even the calamity for his honor, for his glory, for his glory, for his glory. And that's why we're here, to glorify the Lord.